I spotted my late mother's engagement ring sitting on my stepmother's finger while Dad was at work. When I asked her why she had it, she said your dad told me I could wear it so I'd feel closer to the family. I snapped a few photos and walked away, fully aware I was about to destroy her. I have the total opposite of daddy issues. Honestly, my dad is such an incredible man that he basically fooled me into thinking all men were like him. When insulin made me put on weight, he gained about 20 pounds right alongside me so I would not feel alone. And when I was little and he only had enough change for one ice cream, he always made sure I got it. So when he married my stepmom, I assumed she would be just as wonderful as he was. Boy, was I wrong. When she moved in, she wrapped me in a huge hug and even bought me a brand new iPad. And the moment she learned I had type 1 diabetes, her eyes flashed with that same predatory sparkle I later learned meant trouble. It started out small. She began sneaking regular soda into my diet drink bottles, just enough to cause mystery spikes that made me look careless at doctor visits. At my sweet 16, she hid my insulin pen right before it was time for cake. I had to excuse myself and search in panic while she told guests I was probably just having a teenage mood swing. Later, she magically found it in my room, hinting to Dad that I was getting forgetful with my medication. I wanted so badly to tell my dad what was happening, but he was so happy to have found someone after Mom died. I could not stand the idea of ruining that for him. I kept telling myself it was just an adjustment period and that things would improve soon enough. But when my college interview trip came up, I could not even lie to myself anymore. It was a deliberate, calculated attack. Dad could not come, so she offered to drive me herself. I could not say no without basically revealing the whole truth. So I agreed anyway and tried to hope for the best. Halfway there, she pulled over for gas and I went to check my blood sugar. My meter was gone completely. My backup meter was gone too. My juice boxes were gone as well. She drove toward a pharmacy to help, but somehow took wrong turns for nearly an hour. I missed my interview because I was in the hospital with dangerously low blood sugar. She told Dad I forgot to pack my supplies because I was too stressed out. After the ER doctor mentioned this was the third accident in 2 months, I could not take it anymore. So when my dad asked if everything was all right, I finally told him the truth. Dad, I am sorry, but Hannah has been hiding my insulin. She is trying to make me sick on purpose, and you keep insisting Hannah would never do that. He cut me off. She is a registered nurse. I think you are just overwhelmed by senior year. Hannah stood behind him, filing her nails with a smug, satisfied smile. But I went to bed that night with only one thought. She had just taught me exactly how to make someone look unstable. It was time to put that lesson to work. I spent weeks watching her routines, acting like I was finally warming up to her. That is when I learned she was taking anxiety medication. Gotcha. From there, I found out she had interviews lined up at a few prestigious hospitals. I practiced my concerned stepdaughter expression in the mirror until it looked natural. Phase 1 was easy. I started swapping her anxiety meds with sugar pills, but only on certain carefully chosen days. Her first interview was at the private clinic. She was sweating and shaking so badly that they ended the interview early. I was there to pick her up, offering comfort while she blamed it on interview nerves. 2 weeks later, I planted empty wine bottles in her car and timed it so Dad would be the one to find them. She swore she did not drink, and she accused me of setting her up on purpose. Dad started getting worried about how paranoid she seemed to be becoming. For her interview at the children's hospital, her dream job, I swapped all her work clothes for identical outfits 2 sizes smaller the night before. Her meltdown that morning was more gorgeous than a beach sunset, but sadly it was wasted, because Dad had already left for work by then. My final move happened at Dad's company gala. Hannah had spent weeks preparing a new dress, pro makeup, rehearsing her perfect doctor's wife act. Before we left, I brought her a special calming tea made with 4 bags of highly caffeinated tea. Halfway through dinner, her hands shook so badly that she knocked over her wine glass. She tried to excuse herself, but her anxiety made her grab the tablecloth instead. As plates crashed down, she hurled a metal fork straight at my head. You know exactly what you are doing, you fucking bitch. You are trying to make me look insane. Just like She stopped, realizing what she almost admitted. But Dad had already heard enough. Just like you what, Hannah? She grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise and screamed that I was a manipulative little diabetic psycho who had played the victim since day one. The whole ballroom was staring at us. Security moved in and I dropped dramatically to the floor, forcing tears to spill from my eyes. As Dad rushed to help me up, I looked straight at Hannah and smiled. That was when I made my boldest move yet. I gasped loudly and clutched my bruised arm as security closed in on our table. The entire ballroom went dead silent. Hundreds of eyes locked onto our family drama, unfolding like a slow-motion car wreck. The security guard reached us first, his hand hovering near his radio button. Dad helped me stand while Hannah froze, her face shifting from rage to fear to frantic calculation. Her grip left clear finger marks on my arm that were already darkening into bruises. The CEO's wife leaned toward her husband, and her voice carried in the silence. Isn't that the same woman from the wine store incident last month? The one who was screaming at the cashier like a lunatic. Hannah's head snapped toward them, her eyes wide and wild. I was not hammered. I had a bad reaction to medication. More murmurs rippled through the crowd in waves. Dad's CFO cleared his throat loudly. Actually, my wife said she saw you at the liquor store on Tuesday morning around 10 a.m. She said it like it was a fact. Hannah's hands started shaking even harder. The caffeine overdose made her look exactly like someone caught lying about drinking. She knocked over another glass while trying to gesture with her hands. Water spilled and spread across the white tablecloth in front of everyone. I was buying cooking wine. Okay. Her voice cracked as she said it. Too loud, too defensive, too desperate for Paul's favorite chicken dish at home. Dad stepped between us, his face set in a mask of controlled fury. Hannah, let go of her arm right now. Only then did she look down, almost surprised she was still gripping me. When she finally let go, I stumbled theatrically and let the security guard steady me. He noticed the marks on my arm immediately. Miss, do you need medical attention? Should I call for EMS? I nodded weakly, making sure everyone close enough could see the bruises forming. A woman from Dad's legal department was already taking photos on her phone as evidence. Perfect. Hannah tried to explain, but her words spilled out in a frantic, caffeine-fueled rush. She's been doing things, swapping things, making me look crazy. Then she stopped, realizing how paranoid she sounded, out loud. Dad's assistant hurried over with ice wrapped in a cloth napkin. As she pressed it to my arm, she whispered loudly enough for nearby people to hear. Those marks look really deep. You should absolutely document this. We're leaving. Dad announced it, and his professional composure finally cracked. Hannah, get your things right now. I touched his arm gently and aimed my voice toward Carrie, just loud enough. Dad, I think she might need medical attention. She does not seem well at all. Several doctors from the hospital board exchanged quick glances. One of them stepped forward calmly. Paul, if your wife is having a medical episode, we should have her evaluated immediately. Hannah backed away and bumped into a chair. I'm fine. It's just, I might have taken an extra anxiety pill by mistake. Or maybe, she pressed her hands to her temples. The pills look different this week, I swear. Dad's expression shifted from anger into uneasy concern. Different how? Exactly. I don't know. Everything has been wrong lately. Like nothing is normal. My clothes do not fit anymore. My medication is not working like it should. I can't. She was hyperventilating now, fast and shallow. The caffeine made her heart race so hard it was visible. Her pulse fluttered at her throat like a trapped bird. The security guard spoke into his radio and called for the building medical team. Hannah tried to protest, but she swayed on her feet. Dad caught her arm, and suddenly she clung to him and started sobbing. I'm not crazy, Paul. She's doing something to me. I know it. I know she is. I can feel it. The crowd parted as we pushed our way toward the exit. Hannah leaned heavily on Dad while I followed behind with the security guard and the building medic. In the parking garage, the harsh fluorescent lights made Hannah look even worse. Pale, sweaty, trembling, she collapsed against their car and slid down until she was sitting on the concrete. Dad pulled out his phone immediately, hands shaking. I'm calling 911. No, Hannah grabbed for the phone, but her shaking hands missed it. I just need to go home, please. I knelt beside her, playing the concerned stepdaughter perfectly. I took her wrist and felt how fast her pulse was racing. Dad, her heart rate is really fast right now. Like, really fast. Not normal fast. The building medic confirmed it with actual medical equipment. Sir, her pulse is 140. We need to get her to a hospital immediately. Hannah was crying now, fully breaking down. Mascara ran in dark streaks down her face. This isn't right. None of this is right. None of it. I stayed right by her, holding her hand supportively while Dad gave the 911 dispatcher our exact location. When Hannah looked at me, I kept my face full of worry and compassion, but only she could see the satisfaction in my eyes. The ambulance arrived within just a few minutes. Paramedics took over with calm, professional efficiency. They asked about medications, and Hannah admitted she had an anxiety prescription. I might have. I think I took extra by accident, she said. Then she looked at me with sudden clarity. The pills? Check if they are the right pills, please. One of the paramedics watched her closely and noted her symptoms. Ma'am, have you taken any stimulants today? Caffeine pills? Energy drinks? Just tea? She made me tea before we left. Hannah pointed at me, but her hand shook so badly it looked almost meaningless. Chamomile tea, I corrected gently, like I was trying to help her nerves. Dad, should I show them the tea box? Dad nodded absently, focused on Hannah as they loaded her onto a gurney. I made a big show of checking through my purse. Oh no, I must have left it at home somehow. I'm so sorry about that. In the hospital waiting room, Dad's phone buzzed nonstop. Text after text from gala attendees, each one adding their own story about Hannah's recent behavior. I read them over his shoulder without saying a word. Paul, I hope Hannah is okay. She seemed agitated even before dinner started. Thinking of you, Martha said Hannah has been acting strange at the gym lately. Is this connected to what happened at the school fundraiser last month? Dad rubbed his face, looking completely exhausted. What school fundraiser are they talking about? I bit my lip and hesitated. She volunteered at the bake sale, but I did not want to worry you about it. She had an episode over the cash box. She accused the PTA president of stealing when the box was just misplaced. His phone buzzed again right away. This time it was his sister calling. Just heard what happened tonight. Is this connected to the wine bottles David found in her car? Dad looked at me sharply, like something clicked. You knew about that too? She said they were for cooking, remember? I believed her when she said it. I let my voice crack on purpose. I really wanted to believe her, Dad. While Dad stepped outside to make more calls, I pulled out my phone and opened the Ring doorbell app. There was Hannah from earlier, pacing on our front porch, muttering to herself and looking paranoid. I saved the footage to my cloud storage before she could even think to delete it. A doctor finally came out after what felt like hours. Mr. Patterson, your wife is stable right now. Her symptoms match a caffeine overdose, possibly worsened by her anxiety medication. She admitted she has been taking extra doses lately. Dad's shoulders dropped like a weight hit him. Extra doses? She said she has been feeling more anxious and thought doubling up might help. Has she been under a lot of stress lately? I spoke up softly from beside him. She has been interviewing for jobs recently. It has been really hard on her, honestly. The doctor nodded once. That could help explain it. We'll keep her for observation tonight. We'll also run some tests. You can see her in a few minutes. As the doctor walked away, Dad turned toward me. His face was lined with exhaustion, and something else too. Doubt. The bruises on your arm. Did she really do that to you? I pulled up my sleeve and showed him the dark marks clearly. It's not the first time, Dad, but she is sick. She needs help, not excuses. His phone buzzed again in his hand. Another text came in, this time with a photo attached. Someone had caught the moment Hannah threw the fork, her face twisted with rage. The picture was already spreading through his professional network like wildfire. When they finally let us see Hannah, she was in a hospital bed hooked to monitors. The caffeine was wearing off, leaving her drained, shaky, and confused. She looked at Dad with desperate, pleading eyes. The pills were different. I know they were different, I swear. And my clothes, the wine bottles, everything has been wrong lately. Dad took her hand, but I could see doubt slowly creeping in. Hannah, the doctor said, you've been doubling your anxiety medication because it wasn't working. Hannah looked at me, then stopped. I must be having a breakdown. I'm sorry, Paul. I'm so sorry for all of this. I stayed quiet. I was the perfect image of a concerned stepdaughter, but inside I was already planning the next phase. She had taught me well, how to make someone look unstable, how to plant doubt, how to destroy credibility completely. The war had officially started, and I was winning it. The next morning, I posted a carefully crafted Instagram story of my bruised arm with a vague caption about surviving hard times. Within minutes, my phone blew up, friends asking if I was okay, classmates fishing for details, and most importantly, a digital trail of concern Dad could not ignore. Hannah came home from the hospital that afternoon looking haggard and hollow. Dad had arranged for her sister to pick her up while he stayed home from work to process everything. I watched from my bedroom window as she stumbled, getting out of the car. Her professional mask was completely shattered now. Dad's sister called while Hannah was settling back in. I could hear only his side of the conversation from the hallway. His voice strained as he explained the gala, especially when he mentioned the wine bottles David found in Hannah's car. I heard him pause at whatever his sister said back to him. He ended the call looking even more troubled than before. An hour later, Hannah came out of their bedroom, drifting through the house like a ghost. When she saw me in the kitchen, she froze, eyes narrowing, and for a second I thought she might speak. Instead, she turned and walked away, but not before I heard her mutter about everyone watching her. I screenshotted her paranoid text to Dad all day, each message more frantic than the last. She accused the neighbors of spying, claimed the mailman was taking photos, and insisted someone was in the house while she was hospitalized. Dad's replies got shorter and more concerned every time. The marriage counselor Dad contacted could see them in 3 days. When Hannah found out, she cornered me in the laundry room, while Dad was in the garage. Her face was inches from mine, her breath sour from not eating properly. She gripped my shoulders, not hard enough to bruise this time, but firm enough to threaten. I ran to my room and locked the door, slamming it loud enough for Dad to hear clearly. Hannah followed, pounding on the door and shouting wild accusations. I hit record on my phone, capturing every threat and every paranoid claim. When Dad came running upstairs, I was curled in my closet and visibly shaking. The ring footage I showed him afterward was absolutely damning. Hannah pacing, pounding, screaming, that I was trying to destroy her life. The audio was muffled in places, but her rage was unmistakable. Dad's face went pale as he watched his wife completely lose control. School became my sanctuary, and also my weapon. I scheduled an emergency meeting with the counselor, brought photos of my bruised arm, and admitted I was scared to go home. The counselor, as a mandatory reporter, documented everything carefully. She called Dad that afternoon, and her professional concern added another layer of credibility to my story. Dad began monitoring Hannah's medication after noticing her prescription was running low too fast. She swore she was taking normal doses, but the numbers did not add up. When he questioned her, she got defensive and accused him of not trusting her. Their argument echoed through the house that night like thunder. My best friend's mom worked at the private clinic where Hannah had interviewed. She mentioned to Dad at the gas station how shocked she was that Hannah bombed the interview so badly. Dad's face when he realized I never told him about that interview was a mix of hurt and growing suspicion. Hannah's paranoia escalated fast after that. She put new locks on her closet, started hiding her purse, and jumped whenever anyone entered a room. Her best friend called Dad, worried about how Hannah could not stop talking about me, how every talk circled back to her stepdaughter, ruining her life. The scarf incident happened on a Tuesday. I casually said I found Mom's favorite scarf in Hannah's drawer while I was looking for my calculator. Dad's face changed instantly when I said it. He knew that scarf and exactly what it meant to us. When he confronted Hannah, she claimed she did not know it was special and just liked the pattern. But Dad had told her the story only months earlier. The lie was obvious to everyone. That night, I heard them arguing again upstairs. Hannah's voice sounded shrill and desperate. She kept insisting I was setting her up and that I was more manipulative than anyone realized. Dad's replies grew quieter and more distant each time. The doubt I planted was finally taking root. Hannah started coming to my diabetes support group at the hospital, claiming she wanted to understand my condition, but her comments were quietly undermining. She mentioned how teenagers can be dramatic about routine care, and how some kids use conditions for attention. Other parents started giving me strange, suspicious looks. I told the school nurse I was afraid Hannah might tamper with my insulin at home. The nurse had no choice except to document my concern and notify the administration. Another official record, another crack in Hannah's credibility. The CPS visit came on a Friday afternoon, afternoon. Hannah's nursing license made her seem credible at first, and I could see the social worker's skepticism when she spoke to me. They brought up my therapy after Mom's death, suggesting I might be struggling with a new maternal figure. Hannah stood in the doorway looking appropriately concerned, while I felt my carefully built case starting to crumble. My little cousin's innocent comment at Sunday dinner crushed me. She blurted out that Aunt Hannah said I sometimes made myself sick for attention. The table erupted instantly. Dad's mother demanded to know why Hannah was discussing me with a 6-year-old child. Hannah's stammered excuse about helping the family understand only made it worse. The security camera in my room mysteriously had a gap in footage from the night I said Hannah was in there. She suggested I disabled it myself, and without proof it became my word against hers. Dad did not know what to believe anymore. A family court mediator suggested I might benefit from living with relatives during this adjustment period. Dad's face when he considered it broke my heart, but I could not back down. Now, Hannah started this war, and I was going to finish it. I discovered Hannah's old Facebook was still logged in on the family computer. Her posts in nursing support groups about difficult stepchildren went back months. Screenshots of her complaining about her ex-boyfriend's kids showed a clear pattern over time. This was not her first attempt to push stepchildren out. After the gala, Dad's company rolled out new rules about family members at corporate events. His coworkers avoided him, and whispers followed him down the halls. The promotion he worked toward for 2 years quietly went to someone else. He came home that night looking totally defeated. My therapist noted my hypervigilance around Hannah and suggested it might be PTSD from Mom's death getting triggered. She recommended intensive treatment, possibly inpatient care, when Hannah suggested using my college fund to pay for it, claiming it mattered more than school right now. I watched Dad actually consider it for a moment. The walls were closing in around me. School pickup turned into a battlefield every day. Hannah volunteered to pick me up, claiming she wanted to help Dad out. Refusing would make me look difficult to the teachers watching, so I had to accept it. Those car rides were silent torture for both of us knowing exactly what the other was capable of doing. My diabetes doctor, who golfed with Hannah's colleague, started questioning my blood sugar management. He suggested my inconsistent readings might be stress-related, maybe even self-induced. The medical community was starting to close ranks around one of their own. I caught Hannah trying on Mom's jewelry while Dad was traveling for work. She claimed Dad said she could wear it to feel closer to the family. Seeing her wearing Mom's engagement ring made me physically sick, but I just took photos and added them to my growing evidence pile. Hannah offered to help me prep for my makeup college interview, and Dad was watching when she offered. I could not refuse without looking spiteful and petty. During our prep session, she mentioned her nursing connections and admissions, and how she could put in a good word or not. The threat could not have been clearer. Everything shifted when I found the receipt. Hannah really had bought cooking wine for Dad's favorite chicken dish. The timestamp matched her story perfectly. The ingredients were all there, just like she claimed. For the first time, I wondered what else I might be wrong about too. Digging through Mom's email felt like a violation, but I needed answers. One message to her best friend hit me like a physical punch. She worried Dad would remarry too fast because he hated being alone. Her fear was not about a specific woman, but about Dad rushing into love to avoid loneliness. Mom asked her friend to watch over me if someone new ever came along. Her friend admitted she tried, but I pushed everyone away while I was grieving. I was so focused on protecting Dad that I isolated myself from the people who could have helped me. My grandmother's ultimatum was simple and brutal. Either I tried harder with Hannah, or I could move in with her instead. But she made it clear I would not be happy under her strict rules, and Dad was even considering treatment facilities. I was running out of choices fast. I started documenting everything the way Hannah used to. Times, dates, witnesses. Every interaction got recorded somehow. Every conversation got noted down too. I was learning her tactics, becoming what I needed to be to survive. Through mutual contacts at the support group, I learned Hannah's ex lived nearby. I arranged an accidental run-in with his daughter at a coffee shop. She recognized the pattern right away and told me Hannah did the same to her, but she had no proof and was too traumatized to get involved. Another dead end. Dad's lawyer friend mentioned Hannah had come in for a consult about protecting assets and blended families. She was planning an exit strategy, making sure she got the maximum benefit when things fell apart. The cold calculation of it all was chilling to me. I missed my SAT prep session because CPS scheduled a follow-up meeting. My grades were slipping, and my college dreams were crumbling under the stress. When Hannah sweetly offered tutoring help, the trap was obvious. Accept and give her more access to sabotage me, or refuse and look ungrateful. My emergency credit card maxed out from Uber rides and non-stop takeout orders. Home had become a war zone, and I could not eat there anymore. When Dad saw the charges, his disappointment was obvious. I looked irresponsible and wasteful, exactly the way Hannah had been painting me. We both showed up at Mom's grave on the anniversary of her death. The confrontation was unavoidable at that point. Hannah accused me of trying to steal her happiness from her. I accused her of trying to replace my mother completely. The groundskeeper had to step in when our shouting disturbed other mourners nearby. Hannah told him I attacked her, even though we never touched at all. Dad's promotion denial letter arrived the very next week. The reasons listed included recent instability and family distractions. He did not say it, but I could see in his eyes that he blamed me. Not Hannah's behavior at the gala, but my so-called acting out. I was losing him, just like Hannah planned from the start. I bounced between friends' houses while Hannah redecorated my room for a so-called fresh start. She removed every trace of Mom, painted over the height marks on the wall, and replaced furniture Mom had chosen. Each change felt like a small death inside me. Mom's sister begged me to try harder, for Dad's sake. She mentioned his stress-related chest pains and how worried the whole family was about him. The guilt felt suffocating and constant. Everyone could see I was hurting my father with this war, but no one could see that Hannah fired the first shot. My questions at the pharmacy about prescription patterns triggered a HIPAA investigation. The pharmacy tech was my friend's mom, and she almost lost her job because of it. Her daughter stopped talking to me, and soon the whole group knew I got someone's parent in trouble. Social media turned into another battlefield for me. My former best friend posted about toxic people who destroy families for attention. The subtweet was obvious, and the replies made it clear everyone knew it was about me. My support system collapsed as friends picked sides, and most chose to believe the devoted stepmother over the troubled teen. I kept collecting evidence even as I lost everything else. My grades tanked and my social life vanished, but my determination only hardened. Every loss became fuel for the fire. Hannah started. Dad's exhausted question hit harder than any accusation ever could. What if I was wrong about all of this? The doubt in his voice made me realize I could not answer with total certainty anymore. Some things Hannah did were real, but how much had I imagined or exaggerated through pain? At the support group, admitting I documented Hannah obsessively did not go over well. Some members shifted uncomfortably, and I heard someone whisper the word stalking. Even there, I was starting to look like the villain in my own story. The biggest revelation came from old hospital records. Hannah had been Dad's co-worker, bringing meals during Mom's final months. She was there for him when I could not be, building an emotional connection I never knew existed. The timeline was damning in a new way. She had been circling long before Mom died. Hannah's lawyer filed a defamation suit and requested an emergency restraining order. Getting served papers at school was humiliating beyond words. My classmates watched as I was called to the office, whispers chasing me down the hall. The girl who accused her stepmother of abuse was now being sued by her. Through a friend who still spoke to me, I learned the truth. Hannah had carried a crush on Dad for years at work. She saw her opening when Mom got sick and played the long game, but mixed into the calculation was real feeling too. She truly did love him, in her own twisted way. I broke my own moral code to access Hannah's work emails through Dad's laptop. The risk of expulsion if I got caught was real, but I needed evidence. What I found was a woman who genuinely believed she deserved this family. After years of watching from the sidelines, her emails showed real love mixed with cold calculation, and it felt worse than pure evil. The old rule-following version of me died the day I made fake accounts to contact Hannah's friends. I was becoming someone I did not recognize, someone who could lie and manipulate as easily as breathing. Hannah created a monster, and that monster was me. I triggered Hannah's anxiety by leaving Mom's perfume in strategic spots around the house. The scent sent her into panic attacks, and during one she called her ex while I recorded from outside the window. Her frantic confession about removing obstacles became the evidence I needed, but the victory still felt hollow to me. When I found Dad crying over his wedding album, I finally understood the truth. Both Hannah and I were destroying him at the same time. This war between us was killing the one person we both claimed to love. But I was in too deep to stop now. Hannah's counterclaim that I was dangerous and delusional gained traction as my stalking behaviors surfaced. The fake accounts, the recordings, the documentation, all of it made me look obsessed and unable to accept Dad's new marriage. Everything would come down to what the judge decided. Would they believe a teen with proven deception and a mental health history, or a respected nurse in the community who claimed she only wanted to love her new family? The answer was not clear anymore to anyone. Hannah's young nephew recognized me at the grocery store and innocently asked why I was being mean to his aunt. His mother yanked him away, but not before shoppers heard him say, "Aunt Hannah cried about me all the time." Another public moment, another mark against me. Dad's colleagues were split down the middle. Some whispered that troubled teens need patience and help. Others had seen enough step-family disasters to recognize the patterns. But without clear proof, most defaulted to supporting the adult over the child. At our preliminary hearing, the judge saw exactly what Hannah wanted them to see. A rebellious teenager struggling with her father's remarriage, acting out in increasingly alarming ways. The order for family therapy and a psychological evaluation felt like a loss, even though I expected it. I reached out to Mom's best friend in pure desperation. She admitted Hannah asked strange questions about Mom's life insurance during those helpful visits, but she assumed it was just paperwork support. The friend gave context, but refused to testify because she did not want to look petty, attacking a grieving nurse who helped a dying friend. The most painful truth was that Mom knew about Hannah's feelings for Dad. She chose to trust Dad's loyalty instead of creating deathbed drama. Mom chose peace in her final days, and I was turning her quiet passing into a war zone. Her friend revealed Mom's exact words were, "If Paul remarries quickly, protect my daughter." The confirmation that Mom saw this coming broke something inside me. She knew Dad's weakness and tried to plan for it, but I pushed away everyone who could have helped. Hannah's old social media posts lined up perfectly with Mom's illness timeline. Posts about patience being rewarded, about good things coming to those who wait, about deserving happiness after watching others get what you want. The evidence showed careful positioning, but nothing clearly illegal, unethical and calculating, but not criminal. I was facing a choice. Mom chose peace over confrontation. In her final days, did I honor that choice or keep fighting? The answer came when I realized I could fight using Mom's own methods: documentation, patience, and strategic positioning, instead of dramatic confrontation. I would beat Hannah at her own game. Hannah's overconfidence became her fatal weakness. She texted her ex that she almost had everything she wanted, until this brat interfered. I took a screenshot immediately. Finally holding the proof I needed, I chose not to humiliate her publicly, and decided to show Dad privately first. Showing Dad the evidence without an audience let him process the betrayal without extra humiliation piled on. His face as he read everything, the timeline, the posts, the texts, aged him 10 years and 10 minutes. When he finally looked up at me with tears in his eyes, all he could say was that he was sorry. Preparing for the custody hearing consumed the next few weeks. Hannah fought to keep her place, while I fought for basic safety and the truth. We both built our cases, knowing it would all be decided in that courtroom. Dad's support shifted slowly but surely to me, not because he stopped loving Hannah, but because he finally saw the pattern, the calculation, the slow isolation of his daughter. His heartbreak was total, but at least he believed me now. As the hearing date got closer, both Hannah and I wore our battle scars. I lost weight, lost friends, and lost my academic standing. She lost her professional reputation, her marriage, and her carefully built image. Dad had lost everything in the middle of it. His wife, his daughter's innocence, and his ability to trust anyone. The war Hannah started with hidden insulin and swapped sodas had escalated beyond anything either of us imagined. We both became versions of ourselves we barely recognized, shaped by conflict and suspicion. The teen who trusted too easily, and the woman who schemed too carefully, ended up destroying each other. But the evidence was clear now. Finally, the truth was documented in black and white. The pattern was established beyond denial. All that was left was for a judge to sift through the wreckage we created and decide who was victim and who was villain. Though maybe, in the end, we were both. Confirmation from Mom's best friend came through a tearful phone call I overheard Dad having in his study. She finally agreed to share what Mom told her in those last weeks, and the truth made my hand shake as I pressed my ear to the door. Mom noticed Hannah's lingering looks at Dad during work events, and the way she always volunteered to help with anything involving him. Mom's real concern was not a single threat, but Dad's vulnerability to anyone kind to him after she was gone. I spent the next 3 days combing through Hannah's old social media using the fake profiles I created. The pattern appeared like a sickness spreading across my laptop screen. Posts from 2 years ago about deserving happiness after watching others get what you want. Photos from company events where she positioned herself near Dad in every single shot. Comments on blended family articles dated months before Mom's diagnosis turned terminal. The evidence painted patient calculation, and it made my stomach turn. Hannah's mother arrived unexpectedly on a Thursday afternoon, looking uncomfortable as she sat across from Dad in our living room. I watched from the stairs as she reluctantly admitted Hannah called her the day after seeing Mom's obituary, talking about finally getting what she deserved. Her hands twisted in her lap as she explained she thought Hannah meant closure from an old crush, not a plan to infiltrate our family. The screenshots I collected formed a timeline even Dad could not ignore anymore. I spread them across his desk one evening while Hannah attended her mandatory therapy session. Dad's face crumpled as he traced the dates, seeing Hannah's interest intensify as Mom grew sicker. The post about patients being rewarded lined up perfectly with Mom entering hospice care. Dad's hands shook as he realized he was targeted, groomed, and manipulated by someone he trusted in his darkest hours. I made my choice that night while staring at Mom's photo on my nightstand. She chose peace in her final days instead of starting drama about Hannah's obvious interest. I would honor that choice by fighting smart, not dirty. No more swapping pills or planting evidence, just truth, documentation, and careful positioning. Mom had been a paralegal before I was born, and she taught me that facts presented properly beat manipulation every time. Hannah's overconfidence finally exposed her completely. While reviewing texts for the court case, she accidentally sent one meant for her ex to our family group chat. The message about almost having everything until this brat interfered sat there for 30 seconds before she deleted it, but I already screenshotted it. The timestamp showed she typed it while sitting in the same room as Dad, pretending to be the caring stepmother. I decided to show Dad privately, instead of turning it into public ammunition. We sat in his car outside my school, and I handed him my phone with all the evidence organized by date. He scrolled through months of calculated positioning, her blended family law research before they even dated, and her posts about removing obstacles to happiness. When he reached the accidental text, he had to pull over because his hands shook too badly to drive. The custody hearing date arrived with both sides fully assembled. Hannah brought character witnesses from the hospital, co-workers vouching for her professional competence. I brought documentation, screenshots, and reluctant testimony from Mom's friend. Dad sat behind me for the first time in months, his presence both comforting and heartbreaking. Hannah kept turning to look at him, her face cycling through hurt, anger, and disbelief that he chose my side. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, packed with community members forced to pick sides in our war. I recognized parents from school, Dad's co-workers, and Hannah's nursing colleagues. Everyone watched as two women who destroyed each other prepared to let a judge sort through the wreckage. My hands trembled as I smoothed my skirt, the same nervous habit Mom had before important meetings. Hannah's ex-boyfriend's daughter agreed to provide a written statement through her lawyer. The court clerk read it aloud, describing Hannah's pattern of infiltrating families, playing perfect stepmother, then systematically isolating the children. She described anxiety attacks, mysterious illnesses, and slow estrangement from her father that sounded painfully familiar. Hannah's lawyer objected again and again, but the damage was already done. When Hannah's own mother took the stand, the whole courtroom held its breath. Under oath, she admitted Hannah mentioned finally getting what she deserved. After seeing Mom's obituary, she tried to soften it by saying Hannah had real feelings for Dad, but the calculation behind them was impossible to ignore. Hannah's face turned white as her mother spoke, realizing her own family turned against her. The judge ordered psychiatric evaluations for both Hannah and me, along with mandatory family therapy. The mutual restraining orders stayed in place while the court decided the best path forward. It was not the dramatic victory I imagined, but it was real progress. Hannah would have to be evaluated, and her behavior would be scrutinized by professionals she could not charm or manipulate. The authenticated text messages became the key evidence in the case. case. Hannah's lawyer argued they were out of context, but the pattern was too clear to deny. Her obsessive research into step-family dynamics started before she ever dated Dad. Her posts about deserving happiness at any cost, plus the accidental confession about removing obstacles, made the judge look more concerned with every piece, especially with testimony about her past behavior. Hannah's breakdown happened during her own testimony. She began calm, controlled, and professional. But, as the questions got sharper, her composure finally cracked. She admitted she watched Dad for years, believing they were meant to be together. She talked about deserving love after years alone, about finally having the family she never had. The real pain, mixed with entitled calculation, made her testimony even more disturbing than pure manipulation would be. Dad made his decision that night, quietly. I found him alone in his study. Divorce papers were spread across his desk. He looked older than I had ever seen him, aged by betrayal and his own blindness. We did not need words as I sat beside him. Both of us were grieving different losses at once. He lost his wife and his ability to trust. I lost my innocence and my faith in happy endings. But we still had each other, damaged but not broken. Choosing healing over revenge happened slowly, not all at once. Dad asked me to consider Hannah's real mental health struggles and the pain that drove her to such extremes. I agreed to respond in measured ways and let the legal system handle consequences instead of chasing personal destruction. It was not forgiveness, exactly, but it was a step toward peace. Mom would have been proud of that choice, even if it felt like swallowing glass. Divorce proceedings began, and Hannah moved out while I was at school. I came home to find her things gone, and my room still showing the changes she made. I stood in the doorway staring at the walls she painted and the furniture she picked. Instead of changing everything back right away, I decided to live with it for a while. Some changes were not worth the energy to undo, and bigger battles still waited. The community split along predictable lines. Some believed I was a vindictive teen who destroyed a good woman trying to love her new family. Others recognized Hannah's patterns and supported our decision. Thanksgiving took careful planning to avoid relatives who chose sides. A holiday that once united everyone now meant 2 separate dinners, a permanent scar on our family. School became both a refuge and a trial for me. Senior year started with whispers in the halls, teachers watching me with sympathy or suspicion. I threw myself into academics, trying to salvage my college applications despite everything. My guidance counselor helped me write essays that acknowledged my struggles without living inside them. The girl who planned to write about overcoming diabetes ended up writing about resilience through family destruction. Therapy 3 times a week helped me process the trauma, both inflicted and received. My therapist specialized in family conflict and did not judge the methods I used to protect myself. We worked through the guilt of becoming someone I did not recognize, the pain of losing friends who chose Hannah, and the fear I inherited Mom's distrust. Progress came slowly, measured in small wins like sleeping through the night without nightmares. Dad and I built new routines that did not involve Hannah at all. Sunday dinners at restaurants instead of at home. Movie nights where we did not worry about her commentary. Visits to Mom's grave together. Holding hands through shared grief and slow healing. We learned to be a family of 2 again. Smaller but stronger for surviving the storm. The restraining orders became final on a rainy Tuesday. Hannah was barred from contact for 2 full years. She had to stay 500 feet away from our home, my school, and Dad's workplace. She moved to another state to live with her mother, starting over at a small clinic that did not know her past. Part of me hoped she would find peace someday. Most of me just wanted her gone forever. Winter passed in a blur of college applications, therapy sessions, and slow rebuilding. Friends gradually came back as the drama faded out. My grades recovered enough that I could still hope for decent schools. Dad started smiling again, tentative at first, then with real warmth. One weekend, we painted my room together, choosing colors neither Mom nor Hannah would have picked. It was ours alone. My safety school acceptance letter arrived in March. Not the Ivy League dream I once had, but a strong state school with a solid pre-med program. Dad cried when I showed him, proud I salvaged something from the wreckage. We celebrated with ice cream, just us, like when I was little and he would share his cone with me. Spring brought graduation prep, and a sense of ending that felt sad and freeing. I ordered my cap and gown, sent final transcripts, and attended senior events with cautious optimism. Some classmates still avoided me, but most moved on to newer drama. I was yesterday's news, and that suited me perfectly. Graduation morning dawned bright and clear. Dad arrived early for good seats, camera ready in his hands. I stood with my classmates and looked out at families who survived their own storms. In my speech as salutatorian, I talked about resilience without naming details, about choosing hope over bitterness, healing over revenge, and moving forward when standing still felt safer. The applause felt like absolution at last. 6 months had passed since the gala night when everything exploded. Hannah lived in another state with her mother, rebuilding far away from us. Dad and I found our rhythm as a family of 2 again, visiting Mom's grave monthly and holding hands through grief and healing. The war was over, leaving scars but also strength. I headed to college with a scholarship earned despite everything, carrying Mom's memory and Dad's trust into an uncertain but hopeful future. The girl who trusted too easily and the woman who schemed too carefully ended up destroying each other. But from those ashes, we built something new together. Not perfect, not untouched by trauma, but real and lasting.
I do that, and if it's
a professor that does that teaches about AI.
Yeah, he's an AI professor at MIT.
Oh, interesting.
So that was it was an easier ask of me to make. But I've done that with friends who are just subject matter experts in different fields, where I start to get curious and I realize that I could spend a lot of time trying to curate from a place that's not so knowledgeable, or normally you can make a few phone calls and, somebody will help you out. So it's my way of learning and exploring topics.
You sound like someone that when you get into something, you kind of get obsessed, but you don't necessarily want to dedicate your entire life. You just want like a base level of expertise. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah. So it depends how far I want to go with it. I mean, something like AI not being a mathematician.